A few weeks ago, I showed you GLM 5.2, the Chinese model that's 10 times cheaper than Claude. Back then, you still had to go through the command line. You had to fiddle it awkwardly into Claude Code or Open Code, for example. Now there's an official app for it called ZCode. It aims to replace exactly two things, Cursor and Claude Code, starting at 16 euros a month, or completely free to begin with. That sounds like a perfect deal. But we'll also look at where the catch is, and it's bigger than you might think. So let's get started. ZCode is now officially from Z.ai from GLM. It's the official toolkit for their own model. It's a standalone app for Mac, Windows, and Linux, not a plugin. It's kind of a mix of the Codex app, Cursor, Claude, and everything else out there. So it's definitely not some crazy standalone app. It's built like Codex or the Claude app, and inside, it runs GLM 5.2. A quick word on the model, because that's the absolute star behind all of this. GLM 5.2 is a massive open source model. It has 744 billion parameters, but only 40 billion are active per request. That's the classic mixture of experts architecture, something you've heard 1,000 times by now. In short, the model is like a big team of specialists, but for each task, only the ones that really fit actually work on it. That's what makes it fast and cheap. It has a 1 million token context window, which is really good. That's basically the memory it can read in one go. So pretty much anything you can imagine fits into the model. And the whole thing is MIT licensed too, fully open source. Anyone can download it, self-host it, whatever. Now, about the timing, because that explains a lot as well. GLM 5.2 dropped one day after the US government blocked Anthropic's Opus 5 for everyone outside the US a few weeks back. So while the top model in the West was gone, China just released the best model for free. Obviously no coincidence, but a total statement. For the numbers on GLM 4.6, go check out my other video, where I go into all of this in more detail. Here, we'll keep it short and simple. WeBench Pro is basically the tough, real-world test, with actual GitHub tasks. GLM scores 62% there, while Opus 4.5 hits 69%. So it's solid, but not better. Terminal Bench is similar. GLM gets 81 points, and Opus gets 85 points there. And completely independently, they just run their tests and list every model. That's really the amazing thing about artificial analysis. On the intelligence index, we can see the top models. At the very top, of course, Claude Opus 4.5, then GPT 5.2, then the brand new Grok 4.1. There are already videos on my channel about all three, so feel free to check them out. And now, in fourth place, we've got GLM 4.6. So the top three absolute heavyweight models are still the ones from the US. They always have been. But instead of Gemini, Grok is now at the top, which is something new. Hopefully, and probably, that'll change again soon. Or rather, once they finally release Gemini 3.5 Pro. But still, fourth place among the best LLMs out there on the intelligence score. And it's not just that, it's also the price. Through the API, GLM 5.2 costs €1.40 for input and €4.40 for output per million tokens. Opus, for example, costs 5 for input and 25 for output. So GLM is almost 6 times cheaper on output. Sonnet is even more expensive. GPT 5.6 is also more expensive, and Grok is more expensive too. So on this list, GLM is by far the cheapest model for similar performance. Enough theory, at least according to the benchmarks. It's really easy. You can use the big button here, which detects what kind of system you're on, or you scroll all the way down. Then you've got Mac OS, Windows, and Linux here. The latest version should be 3.3.5, just like we see it here. On Windows, we install it through the installer. On Mac OS, you just drag it into the Applications folder. And then, in theory, we're good to go. I've already set up the app. We can even see there's an update here. I'll do that in parallel while I tell you a bit more. On startup, you go through a really quick onboarding. And you need an account with Z.ai. In my case, it took a moment before ZCode, recognized that I'm from the EU. So it might happen that your login window glitches a bit and somehow asks for a Chinese phone number. If that happens, just wait 30 seconds. Then it should work, and you log in with a Z.ai account. You need that to use the app. And now for the part that makes this video interesting. Right now, there's still free access. New accounts get 5 million tokens a day for 5 days, completely free. No credit card, no subscription, just for logging in. 5 million tokens a day is really a lot. You can easily pull off a couple of projects with that. And best of all, you can test the thing properly before you pay any money. If you stick around after that, there are various plans. We can see them right here. There's the light plan for $16 a month, so about 14 euros. The Pro plan for just under 60 euros, and the Max plan for just under 140 euros. So the cheapest ZCode plan is by far the cheapest one out there. With Claude, GPT, Cursor, whatever, you usually pay at least $20 for the cheapest plan. Alright, now we're already inside. It's pretty simple. It's built in a very straightforward way. But most of all, it's also built very similarly to all the other agents and IDEs. On the left, we've got a sidebar that we can resize just like you're used to. Top left, we've got the most important buttons. New task, so just a new task. If we go to File here, this applies to the MacBook now. Then we can also do Open Workspace. Then we go straight into the folder. And very important, skills. That takes us straight into the settings. You can see tons of skills here. These are all skills I'd already initialized locally on my machine anyway. They got synced automatically, basically from Claude Code, Codex, whatever you're using. ZCode just pulls that in directly. We've also got the settings here, and code preview. We can configure this completely however we want. Here you can see our plan. And now the nice part, we can also add other providers, literally any you want. So anyone that works through these three endpoints. First the Anthropic endpoint, then the OpenAI endpoint, and the Responses endpoint. Honestly, I have no idea where that last one comes from. We can just hook up OpenRouter, DeepSeek, Anthropic, OpenAI. Anything you can think of. Of course, the whole thing runs primarily through Z.ai. And here we can see my plan too. We've got the 5-hour window. We've got the weekly limit and the MCP quota. And down here we can see our projects. I just freshly deleted everything and basically didn't start any project. So we can connect everything from scratch here. That's why you now only see ZCode project. That's the default ZCode folder. And then, of course, the heart of it all, right here in the middle, the chat field. That's where you type in what should be built or done. With the plus sign on the left, you can add context, whatever you want, files, images, commands, and so on. It just works the way you're used to. If there were a folder, the folder gets linked, and ZCode immediately knows, hey, this is now about this folder. In the bottom right, you'll see the active model. There we see GLM 5.2, and on the right, Max. That's the thinking level. So, how thoroughly it should think things through. And then, over here on the right, we also have the option to use the built-in terminal. I just noticed something changed visually here. I'm guessing once we start typing, it should change. We've also got the switch mode here. There are different modes, you see. First up, ask before changes. Whenever something changes in the file, we have to confirm the whole thing. Then there's also the option that ZCode decides automatically. Do we need confirmation from the user here or not? There's the plan mode, like in every IDE, so the agent plans before it even starts. And there's full access. There's basically no limit at all there. It does whatever it wants. Now, if we type hi, we'll see that it changes only very slightly. We have a title up here in the top left. We can see right away that it's starting. We see how long the whole thing takes, and we see our message. Once you go into this chat, it also becomes clear that it looks very similar to Codex. We can click on the terminal here, and it pops up down at the bottom. When we close the browser again, it's fresh once more. Then, in theory, we could throw in a markdown file or initialize the terminal on the side here. We don't really need that though. In theory, ZCode, the agent working for us here, can handle pretty much everything. Now let's build something real. I'll have it build a little app, and we'll watch live how good the model actually is. I'm on the light plan here, which is basically $16 a month, so the really small plan. In theory, under Change Model, we can also select GLM 5 Turbo, but that isn't GLM 5.2. It's the older model, just way faster than GLM 5.2 itself. For now, let's stay right here in the chat. I won't even leave it, I'll just dive in. Build me a Pomodoro timer web app with HTML, CSS, timer, and JavaScript. Start, pause, reset, and adjustable focus and break times, and so on. And of course, please put the whole thing into a single HTML file. This isn't some super illustrative example again. It's just a quick look at how fast it works. Does it run? Does ZCode work? This isn't really about the model. GLM 5.2 is genuinely strong, especially for the price, and it shouldn't be underestimated. Of course, it doesn't quite reach Fable 5 or GPT 5.6. Grok 4.5 and GLM 5.2 are kind of in the same league. Sometimes Grok wins, sometimes GLM wins. It varies a bit, though in the benchmarks there's actually a bit more of a gap. And then we just see that it gets going right away. A file is being written here, the Pomodoro HTML. In parallel, we just saw how it was thinking the whole time. So you can always see the thinking process and you can expand it afterwards too. And then we can see exactly what GLM was thinking here, just like in all the other apps. So ZCode doesn't really differ much here anymore. It's built very, very similarly to all the others, but it's simply the direct competition from China. This really didn't exist quite like this until now. And that's what makes the whole thing genuinely interesting. So as you can see, it's relatively slow. It's written 300 lines of code there, 319, and so on. We can watch live how the file builds up. It keeps updating. These are just the normal Git numbers. So we've got roughly plus 300 lines of code. There are no minuses right now because nothing was deleted. So far, only things have been added. First it thought about it properly, and we're now at just under 2 minutes, 1 minute and 40 seconds. The Pomodoro file is still being written. We can click on it, and it clearly doesn't look finished yet. It's still working on the CSS here. Now we're at 602, so it added another 300 lines in one chunk. Scrolling down, there's already quite a bit more. We're now at the script part, where the JavaScript is written. The whole HTML is already built. We're at 740 lines, and it's starting to think. For me, that would mean it should be done. I basically have a finished HTML file here. And yeah, it closes with HTML2. Then we get a short message from GLM. The file is located at blah blah blah, so please open it in the browser. And then we get the whole thing packaged up here in a way that's basically copied one-to-one from Codex. In this view, we click on open and can open the whole thing directly. And right there, we've got something special. GLM has actually already opened the whole thing in the browser for me, in the background. I didn't show that here in the screen recording. You can see it on my other monitor. But when we click open here, this app opens directly inside GLM 5.2. And that's again pretty similar to other software. If we look around, we can of course just use the browser completely normally. I mean, the Pomodoro timer, that's going to work. Look, it's counting down. We can skip ahead to the break. Pause the whole thing again. We can skip ahead to the break. Pause the whole thing again. We even see statistics here. This many minutes in focus. Whatever. They definitely work, but I don't want to wait for the time to run out now. We can even pick a long break or a short break here. The breaks are always different lengths. We've got a few settings to change the values, which is pretty nice. So exactly what we wanted. But now we can basically say, hey, I want certain things changed. First, I have the option to click here, and then I can select an area on the page directly. So we see this blue hovering box. For example, I'll go to the Start button now, select it, and in the chat, we immediately see it shows one web element, and here it says the text Start. It's a button with the role button from the Pomodoro app. And now I can say make the button green, or I can just type in green because GLM 5.2 should understand what I want here. So it's about this button and I want green. Let's see if GLM gets that right away without any issues. Let's just let the whole thing work through it. There we go. Set the Start button to a fixed green, regardless of the mode. It's being processed now. We can see 2 changes here. We even got a little sound. You probably heard it in the video. When we open this up again, the button's green, exactly like we wanted. No matter the status, the button stays green. And then we also have the option to open the dev tools. That's just totally normal browser work, let's call it. So we've got the completely normal browser console here, just like we'd have in Chrome. For anyone who doesn't know this, you can simply go into the console, and with the dev tools, you basically get the ability to read out a website a bit better, to partially manipulate it, to read out fonts, so really anything you can think of. As an example, we can select some text here and change it too. That just modifies the HTML file stored locally in our browser. That's all it is. These are all basic tools that ZCode fully covers. And importantly, there's also a bunch of stuff here that's pretty much standard by now. Feature 1. The goal mode. Instead of giving individual commands or single prompts, I set a goal, and the agent, so ZCode, works on its own until it's reached. So if I type /goal and hit enter, you'll see the icon changes a little bit here already. And now I could define a task. For example, turn the entire Pomodoro toy green, and ZCode works through the whole thing now. It keeps checking itself until everything is green. Did I reach my goal? If yes, done. If no, I keep going. By now, every agent has this, whether it's Codex, or let's say Grok or Claude. Everything you can imagine has this goal mode by now. And here's the second feature that ZCode has, which Codex would actually have too. You can simply carry things over from other tools, like Claude Code for example. So as I said, you can see here are all my skills. And when I hit refresh or import skill from external agents, I can just choose which agent I want to pick. Here we see everything I've installed, from Claude Code to Codex to OpenClaw to Goose, if you happen to know that one, then Windsurf, Tray, Cairo CLI, RuCode, and CodeBuddy. So here I can, in theory, just import everything across, and then I have pretty much my entire setup from, say, Claude Code right here inside ZCode. And the third feature is remote control. You can also control ZCode from your phone. For that, there's this phone button down here, right next to your name. When you click on it, we have the option to connect directly with our phone, or even through these Chinese chat providers. So let's link our instance here locally to our phone. For example, we can create a Telegram bot for it. That's pretty easy. A lot of you have probably already done this for OpenClaw, for Hermes, or for N8N. You can just create a Telegram bot and then communicate with it, and it always gets the messages right here into this app. So say we're somewhere else. Our computer at home is open, or we've got ZCode running on a VPS. Then we can talk to our agent the whole time via our phone, as long as we've got internet. Under Model Settings, we've got the option to add custom providers, and that really can be anyone. This is also important, because as cheap and fast as it is, there are some real catches too, and they matter. Catch number one, and this is the biggest one in everyday use, is of course the limits. Between 2 and 6 p.m. Chinese time, GLM 5.2 burns through your quota 3 times as fast. For us, that's late morning to early afternoon. One user, for example, says that even with the most expensive plan, it's unusable for him between 7 a.m. and noon Berlin time. So you're working cheaply, but sometimes at the wrong time of day. Catch number 2, GLM 5.2 can't see images. No screenshots, no mockups for pure front-end debugging, where you often need images. Is that a real gap? For that, you'd need something like the MCP server that reads the image and then passes the info to the agent. Catch number 3, the whole thing is pretty token hungry. It likes to write long, and above all, it thinks a whole lot. That's roughly a quarter more tokens than the average of the other models, so the cheapest price does get relativized a little by that. But it still remains by far the most affordable model. There's one important catch, and it's especially relevant for Germans, above all for everyone who cares about GDPR. It's very significant. This is a closed app from China with full access to your data and to your terminal. On Hacker News, many people call it a black box with full access because you simply can't look inside. It isn't open source. But of course you have that same problem with Codex, ChatGPT, or Claude too. Whether you'd rather the Americans have that access than the Chinese, that's something everyone has to decide for themselves in the end. But take Z.ai, for example. It's been on the US blacklist since early 2025. On top of that, under Chinese law, companies can be forced to cooperate with the state. That's clearly important. It's a risk argument. Still, as critics point out, there's no proven incident, so there isn't much hard evidence yet. My clear advice, if you're dealing with sensitive company code or customer data, you probably shouldn't use it. But that applies to all providers of this kind that don't offer enterprise GDPR solutions. For a hobby project, the risk is basically zero, as long as there's no personal data involved. The app itself is also still pretty young. Tons of updates keep coming out. You really notice that. But it's fun too, because you can still give feedback yourself, and it'll almost certainly get incorporated, so they're really on top of things. My verdict, who is this worth it for? If you build hobby projects, side projects, or just want a strong model to try things out without dropping €200 a month on Claude Code, then absolutely. The free access alone is totally worth it. And even those 13, 14, or €15 a month are worth it too. That's barely any money, and you get a good allowance to play around with. It's pretty great as a second agent alongside Claude Code. Say you want to whip up quick front ends, or just experiment a bit in parallel. So for me, it's absolutely no replacement for Claude Code. On big, long projects, it just can't keep up, even if the benchmarks look so nice. And for real work, in my opinion, it's not on the level of Opus 4.8. You can't argue with that. It's very good, of course. But for actual work, Claude Code just stays my absolute number one. And if you need consulting for your company, feel free to check the video description below. So, would you give your code to a Chinese app with full access? Or is that too risky? Drop it in the comments. I'd love to hear it, and I'll see you next time.